Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to The Working Week and The Working Week podcast. I'm Wayne Termel, and I have the honor of hosting this weekly look at what's new on the pages of the world's leading resource for managers, managementissues.com. Today, we'll talk about whether we can, or even should, seek spiritual fulfillment at work with Renaissance man Alan Lurie. First, though, a look at what's new on the pages of MI this week. Maybe it's just because it's spring and a young manager's thoughts turn to, well, we'll call it renewal of all kinds, but there's a definite trend to examining our attitudes this week if you look at the front page of Management Issues. The ubiquitous Dan Babinski asks us to find a cure for perfectionism and asks if our quest to be the very best all the time, well, is that actually the positive driver we've always been told it is, or is it just a way to drive ourselves crazy? And as my mother always said, it's a short walk. I don't need to be driven. I can walk from here. Then Myra White goes one step farther and challenges the notion that expensive perks and top salaries are what will help companies keep their top talent in these perilous waters. She's rethinking the power of money. And finally, does your finely tuned team need to be insular and keep working together, or can you get better results by dropping in an outsider and shaking things up? Nick Payton's piece, Team Working Benefits from an Outsider on the Inside, cites new research that those kind of shakeups can have great results if you manage it correctly. And that, as Shakespeare would say, is the rub. You can get the first look at all our latest news, opinion, and industry-leading research by subscribing to our electronic newsletter. Just visit us at www.management-issues.com and enroll. Or you can subscribe to our RSS feed or follow us on Twitter and instantly get updates the minute they're posted. Now today's conversation with Alan Lurie, who's a bit of a Renaissance man, architect, managing director at one of New York's leading commercial real estate firms, and a rabbi. His new book, 5 Minutes on Monday, Finding Unexpected Purpose, Peace, and Fulfillment at Work, is from Financial Times Press. It's out now. Finding purpose, peace, and fulfillment at work is a pretty big job, and is work even the place to look for those things? Alan, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm sitting here in New York, looking out over Times Square, and it's cool and drizzly, but it's springtime in New York, which is lovely.
Tell me about the title of the book, 5 Minutes on Mondays. Where did that come from?
Well, when I came on board at Grubb and Ellis, and I've been here about 2.5 years ago, I met my boss, who's our president, David Arena, on the train as I was coming down from Westchester. He lives in Greenwich, and I live up in Rye. And we met, and we became friends on the train, talking about spiritual things. He saw me reading the Bible one day in Hebrew and became very interested, and he's a man who's very dedicated to honoring spirit, while he's also a very successful businessman as well. We became friends, and he discovered that I was in the same business as him. I'm an architect. He runs a real estate firm, and he asked me to come on board as a managing director. And when he hired me, he said, look, I have this crazy idea that I think is going to be fun. He said, our staff meets every Monday morning. It's a 6,000-person company, but here, about 100 hard-nosed New York commercial real estate brokers. And he said, I'd like you to start the meeting by doing a little 5-minute sermon to this group. Not a religious piece per se, but talk to them about values that we need to hear, about honesty and gratitude and authenticity and faith and persistence and those type of things. And we'll start off that way. And so for the last 2.5 years, when our staff gets together every Monday morning, I take 5 to 10 minutes, and I do a little piece like that. And I draw on a lot of different traditions. My background is art history and architecture, but I'm, of course, also a rabbi. So I draw on theology, philosophy, business practices, and explore different ideas.
So there's a couple of things in what you've said there that I think are worthy of investigating. One is the whole notion of putting spiritual ethics and thinking right up front in the workplace, which makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
I'll tell you, it's been a great spiritual practice for me to do these. It's developed sensitivity and awareness and courage, if I can say so, for myself to do these. Because when I speak in front of a Jewish religious group or I do a lot of interfaith speaking as well, I can talk about deep spiritual things and talk about the Bible and about God in a common language that people are going to hear and that they want to hear. When you're talking to a business group that comes from a variety of different traditions, we have atheists, we have Christians, we have Muslims, we have Buddhists, we have Jews, we have people who believe a wide variety of things, and we have to be very delicate about making sure that there's not a sense of proselytizing or pushing any point of view. And I think people are uncomfortable when they hear spirituality in the workplace because they equate spirituality with religion. And of course, religion is a set of doctrines and a compilation of revealed text that are used within a certain group. Spirituality, if you want to define it in the broadest term, is really simply the experience of connection, is how I think of it. The experience of connection with another person at the deepest level that you can, and an experience of connection with the divine, which can be interpreted in many ways. But the divine is simply the non-physical realm, and that includes emotions, at the deepest level, love, and at the very deepest level, a connection with the creative force, animating force of the universe. And so I think when you present to people, I'm not talking religion, I'm not talking about any particular systems, I'm talking about how can we explore the idea of gratitude in a deep way that's transformative to you at work, that's going to make you more effective at what you do, that's going to make your clients more grateful for who you are, and going to make you happier. I think people very much want to hear that kind of message if the language is controlled and is carefully tailored.